What's up, Chromies? It's been a while, but it's great to be back behind the mic. John Sowash here, and today I'm going to be sharing my updates, links, and resources for November 2025. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you in the United States. Congratulations. You've made it to Christmas vacation. I remember my high school principal, back when I was in the classroom, reminding us that the stretch between Labor Day and Thanksgiving is the longest unbroken instructional time of the year. It's a marathon, so congratulations, you made it. And it's always interesting and kind of terrifying because for the rest of the year, it's very much broken up. You got Christmas, you got spring break, and all kinds of mini breaks in between now and then. So I always try to get as much done as I could in my classroom between, like I said, Labor Day and Thanksgiving, because it's downhill, which is great. So great to be back with you. I did not do an update in October. I was busily preparing the My Google conference. It's the 13th year that I have hosted this event. I usually host between 400 and 700 educators from the state of Michigan. It's the Michigan Google Conference this year. We're at Mount Pleasant High School up kind of, from Michigan. I guess you wouldn't really call it northern Michigan, but north of where I am. Mount Pleasant Schools and also Central Michigan University brought a bunch of pre-service teachers, which was fun. But there's lots to talk about since we haven't done an update in a couple months now. So let's dive into it and take a look. As always, invite you to follow me over on the socials. Try to update you as things happen. And you can always get the latest on my website, chrmbook.com, and certainly over on the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, wherever makes sense for you. All right, let's get into it. First up, we've got an update for Google Classroom. Kind of an AI update, but Google Classroom has had the option of adding rubrics for a long time. Unfortunately, the process of creating a rubric that Google Classroom can use is kind of annoying. It's a very kind of funky format. Like, you would never, as a teacher, utilize the same format that Google Classroom needs. Well, they have an option now that you can select your rubric, whether it's a Google document or a spreadsheet or PDF, and it will convert that rubric into the specific format that is required for Google Classroom to then attach it to the assignment. So this is available for everyone. This is not a premium upgrade. It's certainly using AI to accomplish this. So if you create an assignment, you go over to the right side of your screen where you see your due dates and things like that. You'll click on rubric, and you have this new option that says convert rubric from file. And be ready to go. So that's great. Grading with a rubric is wonderful. Dealing with rubrics, creating them can be challenging. AI is a great tool to create those rubrics, and you can now use, Magic School or School AI or whatever your favorite AI tool is. Design a rubric. The formatting doesn't matter because then you can convert that into what Google Classroom needs. So that's cool. Nice, easy update that everyone can take advantage of. All right, link number 2 is for math teachers. This one's a little technical, but ultimately I think everybody's going to benefit. Math teachers have always struggled with the complexity of getting non-keyboard characters to render correctly on worksheets, assignments, digital activities, things like that. So basically algebra. Expressions, square roots, exponents, things like that are difficult to type out with a traditional keyboard, word processing type thing. Gemini now has improved support for LaTeX. Now, if you've never heard of LaTeX, that's fine. You probably don't teach college level math. This is the formal code, I guess you would say, for higher level math, very sophisticated math. It's LaTeX, LaTeX. It's basically kind of like an HTML type syntax that makes sure that things are formatted correctly. If you ever write like a math dissertation or something, you would definitely write that in LaTeX so that it renders correctly no matter what it's being used in. Gemini will now automatically format its responses in LaTeX, which just again makes it more consistent as you move those files between Gemini and Google Docs and Google Slides, or even math tools like Equatio or GeoGebra or Desmos. Those all support LaTeX. So all you really need to know about this is if you go to Gemini and you ask it to create some kind of a problem set for algebraic type expressions, it should be much better at creating those, rendering them, converting them into PDFs, into Google Documents, moving those into formats that you can utilize. So math teachers, ultimately, this should just make your life easier, which is what we're hoping for. Let's jump down to link number 3 here. This is one that has been a long time coming. Google Gemini has added support for Google Slides. So you can now create presentations just by asking in Gemini. So I don't think there's an official way to do this, but you just say create a presentation of, and it'll do it for you. So I actually have one. If you're watching this over on YouTube, I have one that I created just to kind of demo this. Now, the first thing that you do need to understand is that you will need to use the Canvas feature. So when you go into Gemini, you click on the tools menu, you'll see Canvas, which is basically just kind of a workspace. And then you say, create a slide deck of, describe whatever it is you want. And I created one on the features and updates for Gemini 3.0, which just launched yesterday. I'm still trying to figure out what it is and what it's added. So this created a 13 slide deck for me. Very well designed, nice graphics, good, general design principles. We'll have to decide, if the content is at the level that I want. So yeah, let's just say create a presentation. Now this obviously creates all kinds of potential challenges and issues. Certainly it can help you in the classroom, speeding up the process of creating your own presentations, but does introduce the potential for students to abuse this in creating presentations as well. I'm going to say the same thing that I've been saying for a long time, similar to what we talk about when we talk about writing and AI. It's important for students to show their work. They have to show their process. You cannot just turn in a final presentation. You have to show me, where'd you get your images? Where'd you get your information? What's your rough draft, your second draft? They have to be able to produce the process, not just the end result. So we'll test this out. Again, this is fairly new. I'm still exploring, experimenting, and like all AI things, it'll get better with time. Let's head down to link number 4. This is a Chrome extension that I just discovered that I think can be useful. This is called, the extension is called Unhook. Remove YouTube recommended and shorts. This Chrome extension allows you to customize your YouTube experience. So I think I've got it installed here. You click on it, and it just gives you this drop down of different YouTube elements that you can disable, like the home feed, video sidebars, chat, comments, recommended, shorts, all these different things. YouTube has become a little distracting, even for those of us who try to be disciplined. As soon as you go to youtube.com, you're like, oh, that's a cool video. Let's check that one out. So this can help you potentially eliminate some of those distracting elements to focus on what you're attempting to do. As a classroom teacher, I like this extension because it also allows me to hide certain things that I may not want splashed up at the front of my classroom if I am trying to show my students something on on YouTube. So just to show you, I'm logged into my YouTube account right now, and I currently have it set to go straight to my subscriptions rather than the home feed. And I also have it set to turn off shorts. So you'll notice this is kind of an old school YouTube experience where there are no shorts. A lot of those, especially if you're an elementary teacher, can have graphics that might not be appropriate for the age of students you're teaching, or just be distracting or annoying or whatnot. So I think this is great. It's very simple. It helps you be more disciplined because there's definitely elements of YouTube. I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to see that. It's just bothers me. So again, the extension is called Unhook, free Chrome extension for the Chrome browser. I want to take a minute to give you a special offer for something that I'm running. Every year, I do Wednesday webinars with John. Started this back in October. And I'm running a special Black Friday sale for 50% off. So if you're interested in joining my webinar club, I'll put the code in the show notes for this episode. But for only $49, you'll get access to all the sessions stretching back from October 9th through the end of the year. That's a total of 30 webinars. Each Wednesday, I offer a new session on a variety of topics. Here's a couple that we have coming up. I'm recording this right before Christmas. So coming up, we've got coaching student writing in the age of AI. That's 1st of December. Organizing your digital life using AI with students, grading with Gemini, creating gems for your classroom. These are just some of the topics that I have scheduled. If you're interested in that, you can head over to my website, chrmbook.com/WW for Wednesday webinar. So chrmbook.com/WW. And check it out. Again, I am offering a 50% discount to listeners of the podcast. That link is a special link, will be available in the show notes, the description for this episode. So click on that and it'll take you to the registration page. You can check it out and save. You get continuing education credit for those. And I hope that'll be a helpful opportunity just to kind of stay up to date on the latest trends, tools, and tips for using EdTech in your classroom. All right, let's head down to link number 5. We've got some improvements to how Google is doing deep research. So if you aren't familiar with all of the kind of nuanced capabilities of Google Gemini, you definitely need to start there. We've already talked about Canvas and creating slide decks with Canvas. This is going to take advantage of that deep research option. And so let me actually create a new chat here. First thing you have to do is click on deep research. This is an opportunity to create something, a research report, a deep dive into something with your guidance. Now, in the past, you just kind of outline what it is you're looking at, but now we have this new sources tab that allows us to say, where do you want Gemini to look for information, pull its research from? Now, obviously, Google search is going to be a huge one. If you're asking for a kind of a general topic, it's going to go out to the web, gather the best information, and then summarize it for you. But you now can use Gmail, Drive, and Chat to form the deep research investigation. So this allows you to summarize or do a deep dive on more of an internal topic or thing. So I'm just spitballing here, but let's pretend that you're in the middle of a big curriculum investigation, changing a math curriculum, for example. So you could do a deep research report, email, Drive, Chat, and say, summarize all the conversations that we've had surrounding this curriculum change. And it'll pull that in, and it'll be incredibly personal to your situation. So that could be an idea. If you're an athletic director, you say, summarize all the information about scheduling and sports related activities and whatnot. So very different than just a general web search. This is going to be personalized to your context. This is a free update. Everybody gets access to it. So again, number one, turn on deep research. And then secondly, you'll see that sources button appear right below the chat box. Excited to try this out. Just popped up recently, so I haven't given it a ton of testing, but maybe we'll do that later today. The Gemini updates, man, they are just coming fast and furious. It is tough to keep up, no question. All right, let's head down to link number 6. Talk about vibe coding. There's actually a couple different updates to vibe coding. So first off, let's just quickly summarize what vibe coding is. Vibe coding is the ability to create a coding product, an app, a learning simulation, something like that, without actually having to write any code. You're doing this on the vibes based on your verbal description, and then AI is going to actually write the code to implement that for you. Now, I have done a couple of workshops on vibe coding, and I have been absolutely amazed by the creativity of teachers. So many individuals, I would argue that almost everybody has an idea for an app, but you don't have the coding skills to put that into practice. Well, now with tools like Gemini, we can do that. And so you can just go to Gemini, open up the canvas and say, code me an app that does such and such. Code me a seating chart simulator where I can drag chairs around the room to simulate my seating chart. I mean, it'll do that for you. Now, eventually you will hit the limits of what you can do inside of the Gemini app, which is where this new product, Google AI Studio, comes in. And so I'm sharing today a webinar with a couple of Googlers, including Logan Kilpatrick. He is part of the Google DeepMind team, which is kind of the brains behind the whole Gemini thing. And he's doing a webinar. It's about an hour long on vibe coding. And even if you're not like super into it to the level that he gets into, there's some interesting tips. I did watch through it just to kind of see his process, how he phrases his prompts is interesting. So if you have some kind of an idea that you've always wanted to create, implement, this might be an area where you can investigate. Now, again, you can start vibe coding right inside Gemini, and with the release of Gemini 3.0 yesterday, vibe coding is one of the major improvements that they made. You can do a ton of work inside of Gemini itself, and then there are some ancillary tools that you can kind of grow into, including Google AI Studio. And then they just launched one that I'm still trying to wrap my head around called Google Gravity. This just launched with Gemini 3.0. It's a brand new coding console that utilizes the power of AI. So you can actually code things here in Google Gravity. It pushes it to Chrome. You can see what it looks like. You come back here, you make changes, you go back and forth. I am still trying to understand the pros and cons between those three things. So again, you've got Gemini itself, which is a great place to start. You've got Google AI Studio, which has been around for a long time. And then you've got this brand new thing called Google Gravity, which I am exploring and testing out. Again, this was just launched yesterday, but this is supposed to be AI-powered coding natively. So I will do some experimentation and let you know what I find out. So if you're into vibe coding, there's some cool updates that you can check out. Let's keep on the Gemini train, which keep it going a little bit. And I've got a couple research reports that I want to share with you. Now, you may have some interesting reactions to these. I bring them to your attention to help stir the pot, I guess you would say. You can decide if you agree or disagree with them. The first research report that I want to share is one from Google. This one's not as deep as a research. It's more of an anecdote than anything. According to a superficial study in Northern Ireland, the use of Gemini can save teachers approximately 10 hours a week. So again, this is a blog post from Google. They partnered with a private school in Northern Ireland. There's 100 teachers. They participated in a 6-month pilot to utilize Gemini to improve teacher productivity. And so then they did surveys with both the admins and the teachers and things like that. And it said each participating teacher reporting saving an average of 10 hours per week with the help of Gemini. And they were able to reinvest that time into other things like working individually with students and things that they are good at, strong at, like doing, rather than, a lot of the busy work of the classroom. It says that this pilot program captured more than 600 unique use cases from Gemini, ranging from streamlining administrative work, brainstorming, so lots of different options. It's an interesting study. Obviously it's created and promoted by Google. So obviously they have a vested interest in the success and impact of their tools. But I definitely can see how AI can save time given a teacher who understands how to use it effectively and has identified the areas in which AI is most useful. You have to understand that AI will not be good at all tasks, and you have to make intelligent decisions about when to use it and when you're like, no, this isn't going to save me time, or I can do a better job at this thing, so I'm going to do it. But over here, I'm not very good at this. I don't like doing it. It's very time consuming, so I will leverage AI over there. And that's the thing that I think a lot of teachers are wrestling with, is figuring out, what tasks are best suited for AI. We'll get back to a couple more research studies here in a few minutes. All right, link number 8 is an update to NotebookLM, another great tool that you definitely should check out. Google has made some improvements to the NotebookLM app for mobile. It's available for both iOS or Android, that allows easier access to flashcards, practice quizzes, and different study aids. So the idea here is that if you as the teacher created the notebook, put all of your class material in that notebook, students will now have the mobile app to study from. So according to this update from Google, the chat is 50% better quality, a larger context window, which means it can handle more information, and it can remember 6 times more. So that's the conversation memory. So NotebookLM is certainly powered by Gemini. And so as Gemini gets better, NotebookLM gets better as well. They've got a couple of interesting screenshots with the flashcards. Again, I've done this on desktop and it works well. So they're just updating the ability to more effectively do this at the mobile level also, which is how, again, most students tend to study. NotebookLM is incredibly popular at the higher education level. And I definitely think it has a lot of potential in K-12, certainly for upper level classes. I'm thinking AP level courses, as students increasingly are required to do more independent study. They have to be responsible for their own learning. NotebookLM can be a great way for them to review, summarize, synthesize information. All right, I'm going to wrap up with a couple additional research reports. Now, this will probably stir some controversy for sure. I'd encourage you to read the report, draw your own conclusions. I did spend a bit of time looking at both of these and kind of formulating my own thoughts. But, educational research is a tricky subject. Every human is unique. Every student has unique needs. And so it can be challenging to draw broad conclusions from any given study. These reports both have kind of underlying presuppositions behind them as well. So I wouldn't say that they're completely free of bias, as you'll probably come to figure out as well. But I think there are some things that we can learn from both of these reports. Definitely take a minute to read through them, gather your own thoughts and information. All right, the first study is one from Google. The study was commissioned by Google, and it is a study that says AI improves student learning. This very long, very technical report was done for 165 UK learners who were given access to AI tools to enhance learning, Gemini. And according to the report, there was a noted increase in learning by the group that used AI. So a 5.5% increase in knowledge transfer under the direction of a human instructor. So again, you had a teacher who helped the students utilize AI to enhance their learning. And according to, again, this report, that resulted in a 5.5% increase. Now, this is an actual research report. It is very long and technical. You certainly can, look at the abstract for it. The full report is available. Now, I did skim through the full thing, but I actually dropped the report into Gemini so that I could ask it some questions. And, I specifically said, hey, this report's commissioned by Google, who obviously has a vested interest in their tools being effective. So what am I missing? Like, what are the potential areas of bias and whatnot? And it gave me some good insights. It definitely did confirm that the 5.5% increase in knowledge transfer is a statistically significant number. The question, though, is, will that knowledge transfer be retained? So students remembered more. Basically, they taught a thing, they used AI to help study that thing, and then they gave a test. The students who used AI scored 5.5% higher than the students who didn't. The question, which we have not looked at, is, will those students still remember more 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now? Is that just temporary knowledge, or has that knowledge been committed to long-term memory? And that wasn't the purpose of the study, so you can't necessarily fault them for that. But this, again, is not, firm and final comment on the effectiveness of AI. It's a complicated topic. How does the use of AI improve learning? I think most teachers have a personal thought or just kind of conviction about that, pro or con. So this research suggests that it can help improve learning. Again, this wasn't just AI only. It was the use of AI under the direction of a trained educator. Encourage you to check that out and draw your own conclusions. Now, I want to direct your attention to a second article. This one's not necessarily a report. This was making the rounds for quite a while. This is an opinion piece from the New York Times. The title of this report is "The Screen That Ate Your Child's Education." This is by Jean M. Twenge, a psychology professor from San Diego State. She's also the author of 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World. The article, it's an opinion piece, not necessarily research-based, but obviously has some good data in it. Tracks performance over the last 30 to 40 years and makes a suggestion that as more and more technology has entered into education, the educational outcomes have gone down. Now, one obvious issue was the smartphone. You also have the pandemic. I mean, the article definitely discusses, those things and how they have had a tremendous impact. But then it takes a massive shot at the introduction of laptops in education, specifically calling out the one-to-one Chromebook programs that are pretty much ubiquitous now across the United States. And it raises all kinds of issues. In a survey of American teenagers by Common Sense Media, 1/4 of students admitted they had seen pornographic content during the school day. Half of that group saw some of this content on school devices. And just the amount of off-task behavior on school-issued devices has reached an incredibly concerning point. And yeah, just saying that, the use of screens is negatively impacting education. And it's hard to fully deny that. It's also hard to imagine a situation where there are no screens, no technology in the classroom. There's, so much quality stuff that can be accessed, but that also comes with the risk of distraction and off-task behavior as well. So again, some of the research that this article cites, a study from the Journal of Adolescence found that standardized test scores in math, reading, science fell significantly more in countries where students spend more time using electronic devices for leisure during the school day. Now, this is what I want to discuss for a little bit. This article talks at length about students using school-issued devices for non-academic tasks. And I think as educators, we do share some responsibility in this conversation. I have the privilege of working with hundreds of school districts around the country. Each year, I do a lot of admin work so I can see the policies that are in place at various schools and work with teachers. And I am a little concerned about the lack of specific direction that I specifically see when teachers are in the classroom with their students. Like way too many students just kind of randomly wandering the internet. If a lesson does not have a specific tech task in it, there should be no Chromebooks out. Like I am a huge technology fan. Obviously, I think Chromebooks are great, but they have a place. And if you're not using them in a particular lesson, then they should not be out. I would agree that off-task Chromebook behavior is reaching a very concerning level. Now, I also run the tech side, and I have to be careful because there's a lot of schools who think that they're going to put policies in place to block this or block that or prevent this behavior and whatnot. And I mean, there are certainly some things we can do, but ultimately it has to come from, good classroom management. If a student is on a Chromebook, they should have a clear understanding of what they're supposed to be doing. And if they're not doing that thing, then they should lose that privilege. This whole just like, oh, I'm wandering the internet, doing this, doing that, that is not going to lead to good outcomes. So I think this article is a little harsh. I don't think that it's feasible or prudent to just eliminate technology. But I do think that off-task, unstructured technology access is detrimental. This article goes into talk a lot about the school-issued Chromebooks that then go home and how big of an issue they are at home. That I'm a little less sympathetic to. I mean, I have 5 kids, and it's just like if you don't want them to use it, just put it in your book bag and don't take it out. Like, just take it from them. Like, don't let them have it in their rooms. Like that part, I don't think should be as big of an issue as this article, makes it out to be. At this point, we have, converted to mostly digital textbooks, assessments. I don't think we're putting the genie back in the bottle from that perspective, but I understand it's challenging for sure. So I love your feedback on both of these articles. The one from Google that says that AI improves learning, the one from the New York Times that says that technology is ruining learning. There's certainly someone with every perspective you can imagine talking about their opinion. Those are my links and updates for November 2025. Lots to think about, some cool new things to check out. Definitely encourage you to go create some deep research reports with Gemini, create some slide decks, check out the Unhook Chrome extension if YouTube is something you'd like to clean up a little bit. Also like to invite you to join me for Wednesday webinars every Wednesday. From now till the end of the school year, you'll get access to all of those for the discounted price of $49 for Black Friday. Thanks for being a part of the Chromebook Classroom community, for listening to this podcast. See you back here next time. Happy holidays.